Only on CBS This Morning, we are hearing from the American tourist who was kidnapped in Uganda and held captive for nearly 5 days. In part 2 of our interview with Kimberly Endicott, she is sharing the story of her release for the very first time and how this experience still haunts her.
I remember laying down on the ground, and I remember hearing JP say, "Oh my God," at my exhaustion.
Kimberly Endicott and her guide, JP Marengo Remezo, had been walking with their captors across the Ugandan border to the more unstable Democratic Republic of Congo.
At one point, I'm asked to get up, and I turn and look, and they've made a tent for me out of tarps and a mosquito net, which I remember that was the moment where I thought, why are they taking such good care of me?
That seems like a little piece of humanity for you.
Yes, very much. This relationship starts with these young men in the camp.
What do you mean, relationship?
I just start talking to them like I'm talking to you. But all the while, I'm watching these young men drink water, not from the river, but from a hole in the ground. But they have bottled water for me.
They had bottled water for you?
Yes.
And they would drink from the hole in the ground?
Yep.
You ended up feeling compassion for them?
100%. How could I not?
Some would say, how could you?
Because that's their life. It's not really above living like an animal. That's their life. If I survive this, I have a life to go back to. That's their life. That does not condone what they did, not even close.
But I think most people wouldn't have the compassion that you have in these circumstances or the heart that you have in these circumstances. And I marvel that you were able to do that.
But nobody knows that until they're in that situation.
While a search effort was underway, the kidnappers began making calls to the tour company, demanding a ransom, and giving JP and Kimberly the phone at points in the negotiations.
I was able to call my daughter once. They let me do that. My daughter's beside herself.
Of course.
Her mother's been kidnapped. But I'm not beside myself. I'm saying, okay, we can't do this now. Let's get it together, but tell everybody what's happening. Tell everyone what's happening, because I don't know what's being done.
So JP and the captors are now trying to negotiate with the tour company to get money.
To get money.
Okay.
Right.
Once they were free, it was reported across the world.
The hunt for the perpetrators continues along the Ugandan border.
Following 5 days of negotiations, a ransom was finally paid, but the amount and donor are unknown.
When they said, okay, run, you're free to go, where are they releasing you to?
There was the woman from the Ugandan Wildlife Authority, from what I was told, is the one that met them with the money. And she was then meeting us with a gentleman on a boda. Do you know what a boda is?
No clue.
It's a motorcycle.
The two freed captives hopped on the motorcycle and finally were driven to safety.
When we pulled into a Shasha camp, I realized just what my government did for me. And I was overcome with shame for thinking they didn't do anything. And gratitude like I've never felt in my life.
Somebody said something to you that was quite profound. What was that?
That those young men were both my captors and my protectors. And they were.
You see it that way too?
100%.
Explain.
They could have sold me to a different group. When I went out in the open, they had guns that also protected me. It could have been so much worse than it was.
Kimberly has been back in the States just over 2 weeks now, but those 5 days in early April still haunt her.
Do you relive this experience?
Yeah, I think a little less every day. Certain things will trigger me. We went for a walk out at a nature area, and it just triggered me like nobody's business. The sound of our feet on the ground, pushing bushes out of my way. And so I'm getting in touch with that there's going to be that probably for a while.
Do you believe that it's safe to go to Uganda still?
I do.
You
I do. Again,
you do.
I'm the exception to the rule. That was the other thing. That feeling of what this is going to do to that country that is run by their people And those are immensely friendly, accommodating people. Everyone in hospitality, after you would have a conversation, the last thing they said to you was, please tell all of your friends to come.
So when all of this is said and done, do you just look at this as a ragtag team of people?
100%.
And you just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time?
Hopefully the right place at the right time. Hopefully something beautiful is going to come out of this. That's where I have to hold my hope.
She's amazing. She has many thoughts. And when she said about the ransom, she said, I know everybody wants to know about the ransom, the ransom. You know, the demand was for $500,000 to the tour company. She thinks, but she doesn't know for sure. She thinks it was maybe about $30,000. She doesn't know quite. She still isn't sure who paid it. The kidnappers, to our knowledge and to hers, still remain at large. People don't know where they are. But I mean, she's just very centered, very grounded, very calm, and just really, in some ways, feels guilty that this happened because it puts a taint, she says, on Uganda. These kidnappers, 20 to 30 years old.
She seemed to have deep rivers of something, either spirituality or what she does for a living, or something that she was able to tap into, because she has amazing equanimity. I know she said she was triggered by her walk, but amazing equanimity in the face of all of it.
What she does for a living, she's an esthetician, so she has her own business that she's had for 24 years. And I was talking about, I have dry skin. She goes, you know, when we were walking in the sunlight, I could tell your skin is quite dry. And so she gave me a product. I mean, but so she's feisty, but she's also very thoughtful. She's also very loving, very kind. I was really, really impressed with her. Oh, and the blanket, did you guys notice she was holding a blanket in her lap?
Yeah.
And even when we went for, oh, there it is. Okay, good. Thank you,
Even
guys.
when we went for a walk,
Even
she
when
had it.
she carries this blanket with her. That blanket, guys, came from the vehicle where she was kidnapped from.
Oh, wow.
And I said, I would think that that would be triggering and upsetting to you. She said, oddly, it's comforting because it protected me. It kept me warm. It kept the mosquitoes away. So she looks at that as something that really provides her with some nurturing in a very surprising way to me.
And I like to hear express gratitude, not only for the U.S. government, but for others as well.
Oh, she was very specific about the role of the U.S. Embassy in Uganda. And
Nice
Mike,
job.
somebody named Mike, who she's eternally grateful for. We saw him on the video. She couldn't say enough about what the government has done.
Nice interview. Thank you.
Thanks.